start again. All right, here we go. Starting again.
Here we go.
Hey, man, it's great to see you. How's it going?
This is absolutely the first time we're doing this.
This is the first time I've talked to you. This is fantastic.
Yeah, no, this is great. No, as we were just talking about, we had a little technical difficulty, but hey, these are interviews in 2021, so just roll with it. No, you guys took this film to the MPA a number of times, which I'm sure has been your experience on every Saw movie. But I guess to reframe the question that we were just talking about is like director's cuts are all the rage. And I know there's been, previous Saw films that have had unrated cuts released, and the fans are already asking for that. Is something that you guys are already thinking about? Releasing kind of an
actually, no. This is the first time I don't think there is going to be a director's cut. There may be. I'm saying that without knowing. Usually what happens is that a director will do his version, and the producers will then come in with the studio notes. My version was much longer. When I say much longer, it's probably 25 minutes longer. But it wasn't better. It just was longer. It was longer takes. It was longer. Like an example I'll give you is this subway scene. I shot about a 4-minute oneer that started upstairs, went downstairs, and then eventually went around like this turn and then onto the train tracks. Well, we cut the last minute of it out. We cut this guy's big acting performance out, Josh Stolberg. So there was a lot of longer takes that were cut out. And yes, there was some violence. Like with anything, when you go to the MPAA, they want to have a hand in making sure the movie is accessible to 17-year-olds. So there was about, I don't know, 4 to 5 minutes of gore cut out, but I don't know if it's fine. Like the movie is violent, it's vicious. So there are scenes that did not make the final version of the movie, but I don't know if they make the movie any better. So I'm not sure. I guess only time will tell if there'll be a director's cut. I think it kind of depends on the success of the film in theatrical and then the early VOD sales. And maybe if people, want to see a director's cut and make noise about it, there will be. But it's not going to be a Snyderverse cut. It's not going to be like show me the best. It's not going to be that different.
We're not going to get the 6-hour cut of Spiral.
No,
we're going to get multiple chapters from the Book of Saw.
No, I don't think so. I'm trying to think of what else got cut that people would actually care about seeing. Just Josh's performance.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. When you think about a director's cut, you're always thinking, oh, well, this is what they wanted as opposed to the studio. And I think in a movie like this, at the end of the day, this was the best version of the movie. And there's a longer version that's sometimes fun to see. I mean, there are certainly movies that I absolutely adore. And I'd love to see the stuff that got cut out, even knowing that it didn't ultimately deserve to be there. But you just want to see it. So maybe that cut will come out one day.
Well, and what was the fact that what was released theatrically is your truest vision is what it should be, really, ultimately. But, Saw being the kind of purveyor, especially in horror, of the unrated cut, I think it's one of those things where fans just love to see all the different versions and see more and things like that. But, that said, the traps that you guys have in there that are presented, they're interesting because the traps are almost their own star of the movie. And, every Saw fan is kind of bloodthirsty for a whole new set of traps. But what's always so interesting about them is beyond, the gore aspect, they're always really smart and clever, going all the way back to that original kind of iconic, head contraption in the first Saw. And that there's this moral choice with them. They're physical, but there's a moral aspect to them. And so with this being kind of a different approach to Saw, the traps feel like they're kind of more in line with the tone of Spiral. So what is it like both as a writer and a director to get to craft those, and maybe how was your approach different from the previous Saw films you guys have both worked on?
I mean, for me coming into Spiral, I wanted to take the traps back to a more simplistic thing. You know, I still think that probably one of the most iconic traps in the Saw universe was the needle pit trap. And there were no gears, there were no pulleys. It literally was simple as, and I guess it wasn't that simple. He had to cut out a floor and he had to pull out the foundation of the house to put it in there. But it was someone having to jump in a pit of hypodermic needles. And I think that you immediately got it. You looked at it, you knew what it was. And I think that one of the ideas on Spiral was, you know, this guy, the killer, he was not an engineer. So they had to go back to a little more simplicity. Now, that said, they're not that simple. I couldn't build them, but I wanted them to just be a little more simple. And that was kind of the approach going forward. You want to talk about from a writing standpoint?
Yeah, you know, the great thing about making these Saw films is the collaborative nature of the filmmaking process. And what's really kind of interesting that I think a lot of people don't really know is that when we sit down to start crafting the story, the traps are really the last thing that gets developed. The producers, Mark and Oren and the studio Lionsgate, their marching orders are, we don't care about the traps right now. All we care about characters and story. What's the twist? What are we building toward? What are the thematics? And then there's this fun week or 2 weeks, and it's almost like going to Disneyland where the engineers come in and the directors there and the writers and the producers and the designers and the set core, like everybody's there, and we're all kind of really working up these traps to make them fun and iconic. But it really is a collaborative process.
Yeah, Dan, you brought up something funny that I've literally never thought about, but it's kind of like the behind the mask thing where they like parodied, you know, Michael and Jason, and you finally got to see the behind the scenes of like him running around so that he could be there to meet them behind the hedge. I think what we need to see like the behind the scenes of Jigsaw going to all the effort of, because you never think about the like hypotheticals of him actually having to set these up.
I mean, that was something that I always installed 2, 3, and 4 to figure out, like, could this actually happen? Like, could something, like, I'll give you an example. You talk about director's cut. I'll tell you something that was in my cut that got cut out of the movie, and I've seen people talk about it on Reddit. Originally, one of the people said, how the hell could Boz stand on a ladder without falling off, being passed out? Well, we actually shot that, and it was the pig guy is standing there, and he's got like a bar that is sitting on his chest, and he's leaning forward, and the pig guy like shakes it and pulls the bar away, and then that's what causes him to wake up. Well, the problem with that is that just took a long period of time. It took 30 seconds to tell that part of the story, and we wanted to get into the action right away, so we cut that part out. But that answered a fan question. How could he actually stand on that ladder like that? So I think that one of the things that I always we agonize on is, could this really happen? Could this trap really pull someone's fingers off? Could whatever? And then we ask ourselves, how would they get this? So an example on the glass trap, I'll use that one as an example. That is a real piece of machinery that's really used in glass recycling. They do it to cut up the bottles, and they'll send that through. It goes through the grinder, and then it goes into a basket, and then they'll re-put it back in until it grinds it down to very thin glass. So we just said, okay, well, let's use this. This takes place in a glass thing. Let's just remove that. Let's just remove that chute and have it shoot out. So everything is actual. The way we show it working is the way it actually works. So I think it would be fun to see our killers putting this all together and figuring out shit that doesn't work and having to start over.
I think what you're leading towards, or what I'm at least hearing, is that we're finally in a future Saw movie going to see the reveal that we've all been waiting for, that it's just been Kevin McAllister from Home Alone this entire time. Because we get to see him set up his traps, and it's my favorite joke about the Saw franchise.
Tobin Bell is Kevin grown up, yeah.
That from years of essentially child abuse, of Kevin being left at home by his parents alone, it's caused him to become this serial killer. Let's talk about, like, you know, Darren, you did Saw 2, 3, and 4, and then Josh, you came in on Jigsaw. And so both of you guys, from your perspectives, did you ever kind of expect to be back in this world and in this way where it's kind of it's its own thing? It's separate. This isn't you know this isn't Saw 9. It's like its own, or Saw 8, Saw 9. It's not. It's its own thing.
I'll answer that one though, Josh. And I'll also let you know that we have to wrap this one up. We have someone standing here waiting, but I want to answer this question because I love it. No, I never did. I never in a million years thought I'd come back. To me, thought that I'd done everything that I had to do. I did 3 #1 Saw movies. I killed a lot of people in interesting ways, and I was like, I'm done. And then Chris Rock calls you, and I realize, holy shit, I'm not done. Chris Rock is calling. When that phone rings and it's Chris Rock, you answer and you say yes.
I would say the same thing. I mean, I have not been involved with the franchise as long as Darren has, but you know, it's one of the greatest horror franchises in the world. If they're calling me to ask me if I want to be involved, I'm in.
Yeah. Well, I know we got to wrap up, but we can't leave without Darren saying, you know, this is for Texas Frightmare Weekend, and dude, we could not be more excited to have you back this year and just have horror conventions back. And it's going to be a long time coming.
It is the only convention that I do now. I love it, and I'm excited to come back. So next year, bring Josh in. Josh, I don't know if you know this, but Josh actually wrote "Good Luck, Chuck," and I'm sure there's a lot of fans out there that would love to.
It's a different kind of horror movie.
Well, James, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Best of luck on the film, and we'll see you at Texas Frightmare Weekend.
We'll do. Thank you.
Right.
Bye.
Bye. All right. You guys.
Stop the recording. Hold on. I'm gonna make sure we got the recording.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you? I don't know what to do.